the second one.
There is one thing that I want to mention. Naughty Dog, for reviewers who got review copies, quite literally put them under NDA and said you are not allowed to talk about the back half. Now, what happens there? I haven't been exposed to any leaks. I have no idea what happens back there. But it doesn't fill me with great fuzzy feelings about what happens in the last half. If you are prevented from reviewing or looking at the back half of the game when you're putting out your review, it's not great.
They could be worried of any form of content leak that could ruin the story.
Yeah, and I get that. That's a totally valid reason. But they could have. There's a way to do that without putting authors under NDA and saying, "Hey, you cannot say anything about the back half of this game, including gameplay. Like nothing." You could say, "Hey, you're under NDA for these story particulars," and then give people the ability to say, "Hey, I hated at halfway through the game, this thing happened, and Barney the dinosaur came out, and he was a zombie." Like, what the fuck, Naughty Dog? What are you even doing?
I mean, it's a lot easier to just say, "Hey, second half, don't talk about it."
Yeah, I get that it's easy, but that's not how things should work. And putting NDAs on journalists is never really a great sign.
I don't think it's necessarily bad. Like, NDAs on journalists are commonplace in all video game reviews. All of them. Like, there's periods in which they're not allowed to say shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's commonplace in the review.
Embargoes are. NDAs are not.
I mean, an embargo is effectively an NDA that's time-based.
Right, but it's not a content NDA, is what I'm really getting, right? It's you can't say this thing before everybody else has a chance. Cool, I get that, right? You avoid the person like booting up the game, looking at the title screen, and then giving it a 0 out of 10 because, Joel wasn't wearing an inflatable T-Rex costume or something like that, right? But content is something entirely different.
But I mean, they still are giving their overall ratings. So, I mean, here's the thing. You haven't been there, I haven't been there. They may have something groundbreaking there that they're worried of anything coming out. Anything. Because it could be something that's just completely night and day, changes the fucking game. I mean, it wouldn't be too different. Like Last of Us 1, right there halfway. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Winter. Winter. Yes, winter. Like, that would have been...
Winter was very different.
Something came out in reviews and kind of hinted at something like that happened, that would have ruined the moment. The impact.
Yeah. It would have removed, completely. So Metal Gear Solid 2. Although...
But then again, okay, so that's actually a perfect
example. That's a good example of what you're talking about, I know.
Yeah,
because everybody's like, what is this?
Let's say Konami allows reviewers to talk about the first hour or two of the game and nothing else. And then you buy it and you play as fuckboy Raiden the entire time. I don't hate Raiden, I did hate him in the past, but if you bought the game on the premise that I'm going to be Solid Snake for 20 to 40 hours, and then you got fuckboy Raiden, you're pissed. And nobody was able to tell you about it because they put handcuffs on journalists.
But here's the thing.
They are allowed to review the game still. Like, they're allowed to give it a rating.
Mm-hmm. I think even in that aspect, I mean, I guess you could say that having to play as that character is a negative, but that was still probably the intended feeling you're supposed to have. You're supposed to think you're going to be Snake all the time, and then all of a sudden you play as this other character, and you have to deal with that. Like,
I get the purpose. It's just when it comes to setting expectations in reviews, because that's all reviews are, right? They set expectations and they allow people to get kind of basically an extended preview and criticism before they drop $60 on something. If you prevent that from being everything it could and should be, you're doing a disservice to the people who are reviewing and relying on those reviews.
I don't agree.
It's okay to be wrong.
I don't... Why does everything need to be spelled out for people?
Yeah.
Because people are idiots.
Like, let
them hate the game when they get to that part. They deserve it.
And I mean, if you're really worried and you're really wondering, just wait.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like, if you're someone rushing out the door to get it, you probably don't care what the fucking review is anyway.
Right, and that's the other thing is that there's actually a big video by a former IGN writer which said, hey, believe it or not, what you hear about reviews, like most of the stuff that the community says, like they're bought off or they're paid off or whatever, completely false. Also, reviews don't actually impact game sales all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's literally less than 10% of reviews making a purchasing decision. Marketing has the biggest impact on a game's sales.
I wonder how much reading reviews influences the actual perception of the game by the person. Like, if people read just a bunch of negative reviews about a game and then play it, they're going to be way more likely to dislike it, even if they maybe would have loved it if they didn't read any reviews.
And on the flip side, there's also the fact that there's a lot of games out there that are hugely hyped up before they even come out. Mm-hmm. Breath of the Wild, Last of Us 2. So I'm picking on something that I wasn't excited about and then picking on something that I was excited about. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of reviewers jump on this hype train and everyone's throwing around 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. Like Breath of the Wild is a great game.
By the time you play it.
It's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect. It's got a whole lot of fucking issues. Looking at you, weapon durability. Right? Every 6 swings, your sword breaks. All right, that kind of fucking sucks. But nobody mentioned it, and they're 10 out of 10 perfect reviews. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think The Last of Us had a lot of those problems with these reviews where it's really less reviews and more hype train. But we'll see. So far, the game's fine.
Dave calls out, I could care less about reviews. If I want a game, I'm going to get it. And if it sucks, then it sucks, and vice versa. And I like that. I like that attitude when it comes to it.
And conversely, D-Lice is pointing out No Man's Sky, the perfect game where the hype was there, and then everyone was willing to say, yeah, this is not what we wanted.
Agreed. And Mass Effect Andromeda as well. Believe it or not, people were fucking hyped for Mass Effect Andromeda, and it was a shit show.
Yeah. But I just, on this Last of Us, I can't qualify it because I haven't played it. But the fact that it is getting a 2-star rating right now on a lot of stuff I'm seeing, with probably 80% of the reviews being 1, I can't help but think it's pissed off people, not at the game, but at shit not related to the game and just bombing the review.
Yeah,
it happens.
User reviews, like, this is not a 0 out of 10 game. The Last of Us 2 is not a 0 out of 10 game. I've only played 4 hours, and I can tell you already, it's not. Like, let's say the story is an absolute fucking trash fire, and the events of the game are horrifying and evil in indescribable ways. The gameplay's still really solid. It is quite literally a copy-paste, slightly better polished version of The Last of Us 1, which was already great.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way it's a 0 out of 10. 5 out of 10, sure, you can make that argument to me, but 0? Come on, guys. Yeah. If you wanted Last of Us 1, but again, that's what you're getting here. I think it's a little too depressing for 2020, but that's just me, and that's why I'm probably not going to play it until 6 months later, and that's fine.